Let's go.
All right, let's call to order the Waxahachie Groves Planning and Zoning Committee. Roll call, please.
Okay. Chair Dennis Litt, not present. Vice Chair Robin Crawford.
Here.
Committee Member Lawrence Corning.
Here.
Committee Member Keith Harris.
Here.
Committee Member Grace Joyce. Here. Alternate Member number 1, Veronica Close. Here. Okay.
I would like to make the motion to accept the agenda.
I'll second.
Keith Harris makes the motion. Grace Joyce seconds it. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? No. Motion passes. All right. I guess just a reminder, if you've got a cell phone, make sure it's on silent. And Dennis, I want to reiterate, he's kind of pushed for some ground rules. And I don't think it's going to be a big deal tonight. It should go pretty fast, but I guess any comments, we're going to keep to 2 or 3 minutes. And hopefully, who keeps the time on that? Mark. Okay, very good. So I guess the next thing is we're going to move to I guess there's no minutes, old business or new business. So we're going to the local planning agency, old business A. So we'll start with 5A.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As most of you remember, we brought the proposed plan unit development ordinance to the board at the last meeting. And there was a lot of discussion and a lot of really good comments that were raised by the Planning and Zoning Board. And I tried to incorporate as many of those as possible into a revised draft of the ordinance for the board's review, and that revision is included in attachment A of the staff report. I've tried to make it as simple as possible for you to be able to compare the previous version with the current version by underlining additions to the previous draft and striking through deletions to the previous draft, so that you would be able to track the various changes that staff has made based on the list of items that P&Z approved last month.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, can we wait until they have whatever they need to help here? This is for...
Yeah.
They're trying to help.
We're still trying to get mine, so.
Oh, I thought you had yours out.
I can't.
Oh, there you go.
Okay. Now,
See that?
Jeff, can you put it on the slideshow only? Maybe. Maybe.
I think you just click on slideshow.
He's trying.
Yeah, that's what I did. Well, that's okay. We can leave the notes on it.
Mr. Chair, I want you to know this is an example of a public-private partnership.
Do you know if you can get...
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank you.
Let me check, but I think
It'd be
I
nice if
separate,
they
yes.
can see it.
Can you make the notes section smaller, Jim, if you drive it down, or is it?
What do you want to...
Yeah, I want to get rid of the notes section so it just shows the slideshow. On my computer, it's clicking on where everything goes away except the slideshow itself.
Yeah. It's weird.
Trying to get it on here. Toggle. Text.
Yeah, Jeff, maybe you can.
Oh, that's all right.
What about the one on the bottom? See the little pictures on the bottom?
Maybe you can delete the slides on the side to start with.
Yeah, X that out.
Yeah.
No, he's trying to get the two screens to synchronize.
Okay, well, it's gonna be a while before I get to the slideshow.
It's a great slideshow when you get to it, right, Jim? Yeah, that's great, it's a classic.
Since the last meeting, I've been reviewing this almost on a daily basis and trying to tighten it up and make it more specific. And since the staff report was done, I've added a few more items that I'd like to run through briefly with you. And hopefully, if we can get a recommendation for approval, these additional changes would be approved. The first change is on page 6, section 1A. At the bottom of that paragraph, which starts with the letter 2, I'll read that plus my proposed addition. Number 2, offer an alternative to standard commercial zoning to property owners meeting the location criteria specified in section 3B1 to 3B3. That just makes the parcels that are eligible for PUD designation with a commercial future land use category more specific and takes away any possibility of it being thought of as general application throughout the town.
Could you go through that again?
Okay.
I'll mark it on.
The third line from the bottom of section 1A starts with the parens 2, and I'll start reading there. Offer an alternative to standard commercial zoning to property owners, and I propose to add meeting the location criteria specified in section 3B parens 1 to 3B parens 3. That ties it down to where and the type of commercial properties can apply for a PUD rather than making it general.
And is the rest of that language coming off after that?
No.
And then
Who
Tom
proposes
continue
creating
on?
solutions to implement town plan director
That's what I wanted.
Yeah. Okay, the next change is on page 11. That's the development intensity. The intent there was to provide density criteria for properties that have an MLU, future land use designation, in item B1. And item B2 is intended to apply to properties that have a commercial future land use designation. So I'm proposing under number 1 to add MLU PUD development intensity period to make it very clear that item number 1 pertains solely to the MLU designation.
So that's the second line, MLU, PUD, future land use?
No, it will go directly after the number 1.
Like a
Oh,
caption.
okay.
Number 1 is sort of a caption for that paragraph.
So again, what is it?
MLU PUD development intensity period.
Jim, since you're discussing density in here, don't you want maximum development intensity and density?
Yeah, okay, that's a good point. So the proposed wording is MLU PUD development density and intensity period.
Not maximum.
Well, I mean, since that's already under the category of P, I mean, we could state that if you prefer. And then after item number B2, directly after the 2, commercial PUD development intensity period. And that should be intensity only because there are no residential components as, under that particular PUD, commercial PUD.
Where are you?
Page 11, item B2, in the middle of the page,
Okay.
right after the number 2. insert commercial PUD development intensity, period. That's to indicate that that particular paragraph only applies to a commercial PUD.
Okay, I'm sorry, I must have misunderstood. Under B, right after the number 1 is where we're supposed to put MLU PUD.
Right.
I'm sorry, okay,
Yeah.
I got it.
Right. That's like,
I got it.
like I said, that's sort of a caption for that paragraph. And then the second insert is the caption for the second paragraph. Okay, page 14. Under B1, PUD proponent standards, item number 1. It was the recommendation of the P&Z board last month that we change the fact that the PUD has to be located on an arterial roadway to, it has to be located on Summer Boulevard. So in the second line under number 1, we have arterial. I struck out arterial, but I did not strike out roadway. So just to clean up on that. So arterial roadway, both words will be struck. Yeah, just the word arterial. So it reads it has to be located on.
Arterial's already struck,
Right.
Roadway, I'm sorry, roadway.
so strike roadway and that's it.
Yeah.
Is that one place?
Yes. Page 15, item number 10. At the end of the second line in item number 10, I have pursuant to section 1E5B. That should be pursuant to section 2E, capital E, 2.E.
Where are you now?
Item number 10 on page 15. The end of the second line, where I have section 1E5B, that should be 2E.
I'm trying to figure out what these changes mean as you go along, and I'm getting lost on these.
Yeah, well, there isn't too much in terms of changing the meaning or changing the context. I just had to, when I wrote this second draft, I had to reorganize some of the sections, and this reference that I have in here now is to the wrong section. It needs to be to the proper section that resulted from our reorganization. Okay, page 17. Item number 4. This is probably the most substantive change. Item number 4 currently reads generalized location of development areas and uses. Now, there was some discussion, considerable discussion at the P&Z meeting last month that we needed to make some of the master plan requirements more specific and more detailed. And I'm suggesting that we strike the current language of item 4 and replace it with the following. A preliminary site plan drawing meeting the requirements of sections 150-010 B, parens B through parens J, comma L, comma M, and R of this code. Now, what that is, those are some of the site plan requirements for the site plan drawing itself. Rather than just having a general statement in here to the effect that the master plan has to include a generalized location and development areas, I'm including some of the basic requirements from a site plan application. requirements will make the preliminary drawings that are included in the master plan much more specific than item number 4 currently requires. And if you want, I can read what those requirements are, those additional requirements. Okay, the preliminary site plan under this recommendation must include the following computations.
This is still continuing language?
No, this is.
Oh, you're reading, okay.
This is
Sorry.
just telling them what those sections.
That's fine, I just wanted to make sure I write it out.
What my recommendation is a reference to the site plan requirements that are currently in the code, and making this generalized drawing much more specific, so that at the time of the master plan, we have more details to look at, without requiring a lot of the detailed engineering and architectural plans that you are going to also have to do under the site plan. And I'll quickly run through those just so you can get a feel for what I'm recommending that the preliminary site plan drawing include. The following computations: acreage, number of dwelling units and density, individual and total square footage of building area, and square footage in percent of ground covered by roof buildings or structures, and designation of use for each. Required number of parking spaces, loading and stacking spaces, including calculations. Number of existing, proposed, and total existing and proposed parking, loading, and stacking spaces provided. Pervious, impervious, and paved surface in square footage and percentage. Existing and proposed land uses and existing uses of adjacent land. Location and height of all structures and total floor area categorized by use with dimensions to lot lines and designations of use. Building separation measurements, the vehicular circulation system for cars, all adjacent public and private rights of way, pedestrian circulation system, the provider of water and sewer facilities, an indication of existing native vegetation that will be preserved, site plan location sketch, and the location of all drainage features and detention areas, if any. Those are all currently requirements of the site plan, but as I said, the site plan application is extremely detailed and includes many more items than these, but I figured that these were minimum items that we should at least be looking at during the master plan preparation process.
I have a question. Wasn't there like a 40% impervious? Wasn't there some kind of 40% pervious requirement?
Well, that's in there. The PUD.
So this doesn't control
No.
specifics. This is
This is just asking you to create a drawing, if you will, indicating how the site is going to be laid out and how you're going to address each of these items that I just listed.
And what about buffer? That's a pretty big concern, and it's not on there.
We can certainly.
I mean, that's changed, wasn't it? 300, did they want 300, and now it's down to who knows what, some thin amount, and
Well,
we
no.
talked about
The only-
trails and this and that.
The only land use, the only parcel that has a requirement for a 300-foot buffer at this time is the property on the east side of B at its intersection with South Board.
I thought there wasn't one that came up with the college before the college.
That was never in the special policy that related to the college. There's a lot of discussion about including that in the special policy, but it was not
Not included by us?
not included by the council. There was some discussion as to how that was going to handle. That's not in the special policy as it's currently proposed, and will be heard by the council on the But this list of items that have to be addressed does not preclude an applicant from addressing all of the requirements of the Unified Land Development Code. Okay? They're still subject to those requirements unless they're waived by the council under a provision in this code.
That's a great lead-in to what I was going to ask. If they're asking for waivers of any of those items, they should be required to include that in the site plan. So like Lauren said, let's say if they're asking for a buffer waiver, they should have to show on the site plan. So if they're asking for a waiver of any of those standards, it should be a requirement that it be a part of the site plan and show that, you know, percentages. This is what is required. I'm asking for a waiver, and this is the percentage.
Yes, yeah. The master plan requires a statement of use.
Right.
And in that statement of use, it's required that you address any waivers you're asking for.
But that's you know, verbally, that's like a written request. I'm suggesting that if you're asking for a waiver of a standard, it should be shown on your site plan.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Okay, that's what I mean.
Right,
Do you want to?
You have it on page 2B to B1. Page 2B1. Buffer residential to non. How does the text amendment further the purposes of the comp and town codes?
So is that section 2B1?
Yeah. Page 2 and then
Page 2.
staff analysis.
Oh. Yeah, buffers have to be addressed in the master plan. Okay, those are all of the specific additions that I would like to see included in this draft, if it's the PZ's desire to recommend approval.
I don't think
Oh,
right there.
oh, wait, I do have one more. On page 18, under administrative amendments, the paragraph starts out reading, based on a review and recommendation by the town's Development Review Committee, DRC. I found since I wrote this that the resolution that creates the DRC specifically limits its input to site plans and plats. So I would recommend that Development Review Committee here be changed to staff and consultants. We can accomplish the same objective, but it's a little more informal. But we will get the input from the Water Control District and the town staff, town's consultants, and any other entity that we feel needs to make a comment. But according to the way the DRC legislation is set up, this is not a charge of the DRC.
Jim, at some point, would the LPA just be informed? Is there a way that, you know, because if we approve a site plan and it comes back later on for whatever the change is, would it be too much to ask to kind of just say, you know, at one of our meetings, just want to let you know, staff approved these amendments to this site plan, just so that we're kind of kept in the loop?
I certainly have no problem with that. As a matter of fact, we can write that in if you'd like.
I don't know how you guys
That's
feel.
what we're gonna motion.
Can you, I know you explained this last time, but can you explain what this development review committee is?
It's a committee that consists of the town manager, myself, any of the other consultants, like the town's engineering consultants, and any other entity that staff feels needs to provide comments, such as the fire marshal, police, water management district, if they want to, Long Beach County.
Solid waste, for that matter.
Solid waste authority. Depending upon the nature of the application and the issues, we have the ability to bring all these professionals together to talk jointly about any specific issues. The way it's going to work is I'll send out the site plan to these various professionals and agencies, and if they have an issue, they'll let me know, and then we'll meet with the DRC.
Site plan, advisory committee.
Yeah.
Yeah, and building department for.
Right.
So you're vetting stuff before you bring it.
It's a very
Yes.
technical review.
Right.
Right, yes.
And when they do meet in sunshine, minutes are kept, the public can attend, notice. So it's a formal way of getting some real technical feedback before it comes to you all for your public hearing.
The DRC meets in the sunshine, just staff and consultants.
It's not just that. I mean, they all get together and talk.
The applicant could be
The
there.
applicant's there, meeting with the applicant.
Yeah, and the way it's worked now, it's in the sunshine. It's,
So they don't talk, they get their comments and they present them independently at the committee meeting.
One of the nice things is if somebody needs, if any, or several members of the committee need clarification from the developer over something that's been submitted, they all have the benefit of hearing it one time, hear it at the same
So if you're
time.
gonna ship the garbage dumpster, then fire might say, but yeah, but that affects my circulation.
right, right.
It's
Now,
not-
we're gonna,
Every city has that.
yeah, we're gonna accomplish the same goal by the way it's supported. We're just not gonna use the DRC vehicle. Because according to the way it was written, at this point, it's not a DRC responsibility. Okay. Are there any questions on my proposed changes? And I'd like to, after 2 months, finally get to this. What I want to do with,
Can I just ask a question? Is this in relation to this MLU ordinance?
the PUD, yes,
The PUD, yeah. This thing you presented, that's in relation to this?
yes.
Okay.
I'm going to start out with sort of an overview of the entire ordinance, and then I'm going to try to get into some specifics related to the issues and questions that were raised by the board last month. There actually was 15 items that Veronica was nice enough to write them all up and send them to me based on the conversations that the PZ had last month. The PUD ordinance is a proposed addition to the town's Unified Land Development Code and will be added as Article 41. And I'd like to briefly run through the major provisions and then open it up to any questions. The purpose is to provide a zoning vehicle to implement the town's recently adopted multiple future land use category, and to provide other properly located owners of a commercial land use designation the option to gain approval for development concepts that implement the town's comprehensive plan and its various other planning documents. The PUD concept will provide benefits both to the town and the property owners in that it will allow discussions and resolution of specific issues during the zoning process and prior to the more specific site plan approval process. In addition, it will allow multiple property owners to cooperate in developing a unified plan of development for their combined properties. think I'm as bad as Carrie Kildee.
You know you're being taped, right?
Yes.
Get that up
I'll
on
cover them.
YouTube right
I'm doing
away.
the kill David right.
Okay, once a PUD is, application is approved, it actually will become a rezoning and will be so indicated on the town's zoning map. A PUD must have an underlying future land use designation of multiple land use or commercial. And I think that this is a key point in that by requiring a previously approved MLU or commercial land use designation, the town has already indicated its willingness for a mixed use or commercial PUD to go on that property. This is sort of the second step in the process of gaining approval and construction of the MLU or commercial PUD project. The town council also has the ability to include conditions of approval that must be followed through the development process and into construction. And any public representations that are made by an applicant during either the future land use plan amendment process or the rezoning process will be included as conditions of approval in a PUD. For example, if a developer makes a statement that he will improve certain roads or add a particular public benefit into the project during the future land use plan amendment process, that statement will be carried over as a condition of approval. The PUD approval will run with the land, so that if a property owner or developer gains approval and he sells the property or assigns it to someone else, that the approvals will stay with the land and not cease. Also, this is not a substitute for site plan approval. It's actually an interim step in between the land use designation, zoning, and site plan approval. This is early approval of a sketch site plan that is inserted in between the conventional rezoning process and the site plan approval process. It allows major issues to be addressed much earlier than they currently can be under the town's development approval process.
Jim, can I interrupt you for a
Sure.
second? Would that be the equivalent to a preliminary site plan approval?
Yes, that's why I added that language in there. I know that at the meeting last month, P&Z was interested in gaining some sort of preliminary approvals, and it seems to me that approval of a master plan can be the equivalent of a preliminary site plan approval, and that's why I added those additional requirements.
Jim, if we're approving a master plan, why wouldn't we be approving the site plan at that time as well? Because if the master plan is the master plan, then anything that's changed on that master plan that's approved would be a change to the master plan.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Generally, I would think that
Yeah.
when you're approving the master plan, that's what's going to be built.
Yeah, well, the master plan is a little more generalized than the site plan. The town's site plan requirements are massive, very costly, and include detailed architectural drawings,
Right.
Engineering drawings. This gives an applicant and the town the opportunity to discuss the larger issues earlier in the process and gain approval of how those issues are going to be addressed, and then it proceeds to the more detailed site plan. Now, it's possible that when they start looking at some of the result in some changes to the master plan. That's why we have the administrative approval of minor changes. If it's a major change, it has to come back.
So then the site plan approval is just another layer on top of this?
It's a more detailed later, yes.
That then that becomes the master site plan?
Yes, right,
Okay.
the site plan is the controlling document until it gets the site plan, and then the control switches to the site plan.
Okay.
Okay. But won't the master plan always be in effect?
Yes.
In essence, if you get the master plan in place, and then you start working on the site plan, you get a final site plan, but in this corner over here, you decide to make some changes, you still have to go back to the master plan and make the changes.
Yes,
Right.
yes, yeah. It's almost entirely likely that the site plan will incorporate all of the aspects of the master plan into it. If there's some differences, the master plan will hold unless the master plan gets amended. Okay. As I said, the PUD actually is going to be handled as a separate zoning district, and all of the other town land development regulations that are in the Unified Land Development Code will still apply, as well as any additional land use limitations stated under Objective 1.15 of the comprehensive plan, and any conditions of approval that are adopted by the town through the master plan, site plan, or plat process. Now, an applicant may request waivers to certain of the land development regulations during the PUD process. That gets back to Grace's question, where as part of the plan application, you would have to specifically request waivers and discuss what the existing requirements are and what changes you're requesting, and also provide a justification and documentation as to why you're requesting these and how it implements the directives of the comprehensive plan. There are specific PUD design objectives, which are in section 3A and 3B of the PUD ordinance, which you have to justify a waiver in terms of those objectives as well as the comprehensive plan. Now, by a waiver, that doesn't mean that an applicant's going to come in and say, okay, we have a 3-story height limitation. I just want to get rid of height limitations. You have to discuss what the current limitation is, how much you want to vary from that, and justify the difference between what you're asking and what is required in the ODC.
Where are the standards for justification?
You have to meet the PUD design objectives. You're making a written argument based on those objectives as to why you should be granted the waivers. There's an entire section on the waivers in there that goes into more detail. Okay, we enhanced the PUD performance standards based on discussions with the P&Z at its last meeting. We're now requiring frontage on and access to Southern Boulevard, where the previous draft stated access on the arterial. Now, Southern Boulevard is the only arterial, but P&Z wanted it more specific, such that if in the future there was another road in the town that became an arterial, that the PUD couldn't be applied there. They wanted it specifically limited to Southern Boulevard. And we also addressed criteria that can help determine the size of a parcel that can apply for a commercial PUD. And what I did there was one of the principal planning objectives in most of the town's planning documents is that the town would like to see Tangerine Road extended all the way across the town as sort of a secondary east-west service road. And I measured, I went to the property appraisers maps, and I measured the minimum distance from Southern Boulevard to the location of where Tangerine Boulevard likely will go, and that's 450 feet. So I added a criterion in there that said that the minimum distance to qualify for a commercial PUD is 450 feet from Southern Boulevard, or an equivalent distance necessary to incorporate the Tangerine road extension. So, the parcel has to be deep enough to include a future Tangerine right-of-way or existing Tangerine right-of-way. And then I also looked at the Southern Boulevard access management plan, which identifies future potential driveways or access ways to Southern Boulevard, and based that plan actually has specific locations as to where these driveways should go in order to meet DOT's separation standards. And I measured the minimum distance is 600 feet. So a property has to be at least 600 feet wide and at least 450 feet deep, or more if it needs to include area for Tangerine. And if you,
Are these waivable? Are any of these standards going to be?
no. And if you take the minimum dimensions that I have in here, 650 feet by or 600 feet by 450 feet, that would equate to a parcel of just over 6 acres. So those two criteria together define the minimum size of a commercial PUD parcel. And other performance standards.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
So it's from like 50 acres to just southern?
No.
And 6 or?
No, they're a MLU PUD has to be 50 acres.
But now we're going MLU, we're going PUD for anything on southern?
If it has a commercial land use designation, yeah. Giving the opportunity, a property owner does not have to apply for this. They can go straight zoning if they want to. This just gives a better opportunity for property owners to get together to achieve stated town directives, like I said, like extending Tangerine across, incorporating horse trails, better buffering residential properties to the north, connectivity. There's a whole list of town planning directives that this gives property owners, I think, a better opportunity to get together and implement those directives than if they individually went in for commercial rezoning on properties that have previously been given a commercial land use designation.
So DOT is the only requirement that keeps it at 600. You need 400 feet going north-south.
450.
450 north-south from Tangerine going north, and 600
No, no.
north-south going from Tangerine to Southern?
No, it's 450 feet from Southern northward at a minimum. Now, if that 450 feet is not enough
Okay.
to incorporate Tangerine, it needs to be more. If that, the Tangerine right-of-way goes all over the place. And in some places it doesn't exist, some places it does. Some places it's called citrus. So 450 feet is the minimum distance that I measured to get to where that right-of-way is currently.
And is there anything north of, is there a number north of Tangerine / Citrus?
No, there's no,
Okay.
well, like I said, it has to have a commercial future land use designation, and if the town doesn't, if the town only assigns,
I understand.
okay, then that's the first step.
Okay.
So we're trying to identify some, we don't necessarily want a parcel of a third of an acre coming in for a PUD. We want to try to promote property owners combining properties and creating larger projects so that these, larger physically, not necessarily intensity, so that the town's planning directors have a better opportunity of being implemented.
Can I?
Yeah.
Since we're talking about this, I hope you don't mind, Mr. Chair, I was gonna wait until you're done, but, I really have a, strong objection to including the commercial parcels, and I'm not quite convinced unless we make it a requirement that by allowing these commercial land use properties to come in, if they come in collectively, that doesn't guarantee the town that they'll do a horse trail, because we're not going to require them to. So I don't see the benefit to the town, really, to allow for the commercial properties to be PUDs. I completely understand, we have to do it for the mixed use, but I'm still not sold on the idea. I get that we can put in requirements and we have stuff in place that we can make them do certain things, but I don't think that's a guarantee that they will. So I'm not convinced that we should be allowing this to be done. Even though I know you made your justification in here, Jim, I'm still not really comfortable with how.
Well, now there are, there's language in the comprehensive plan now that talks about incorporating horse trails
Right.
within commercial developments alongside.
And so if that's already there, what are we getting extra as a town by allowing these? Because I get what the commercial property owner could get. It's still clear to me that the benefit is better for the developer than is necessarily for the town. Because there's stuff in place right now that, as you pointed out, that the comp plan requires the commercial developers to do along Southern Boulevard. I'm not getting, and I might just be dense about this, I'm not getting the benefit of the PUD for the town.
Okay, well, there's nothing in the commercial zoning districts now that requires horse trails.
Okay.
Okay, this gives us another opportunity through a condition of approval
Mhm.
in the master plan to get that requirement in. And there are, many other directives. I mean, one of the key directives is the access management plan. There's a lot of small properties, particularly east of C,
Mhm.
that we don't necessarily want them all to come in as 0.8 acre parcels. Request a zoning and ask for their own access on the soil.
But based on the DOT requirements, they may not get it.
They may not, but I mean, here we're making it easier for them to develop their property by allowing the combination of bigger properties and giving them the opportunity opportunity to share driveways where,
But you can do that
You
without
can still do it,
PE.
but-
I mean, we can do that with the tools that we already have. I feel uncomfortable with that.
Ron?
Yeah, I have similar questions, and I had a number of comments about this proposed ordinance. So I wasn't sure if we should wait till after you're through with your presentation, or if
Let's
we
wait
should.
till the end for the,
yeah.
and that's just a question directed
Right.
at the police government.
And, okay, we have a requirement that a bus stop be included unless a letter is obtained from Comtran saying that it's not in their long-range plans. A requirement to underground utilities and requirement for perimeter buffers.
And I'm talking about perimeter buffer, I noticed that is waivable. I have a concern about that.
Okay, well, I mean,
Just, why would we want to allow a waiver on landscaping?
yeah, well, that's fine. I mean, we can certainly take that out. I mean, I put a shopping list of items that are normally eligible for consideration for waiver. If the board feels strongly that some of those items should come out, I'll be more than happy to pass that on to the council. Okay. As I said before, there's a requirement for a master plan, and that will become the principal governing document for the remainder of the approvals in the process. Site plan, as I said, will become more specific, but still needs to be consistent with the master plan. All site plans have to be consistent with the master plan. The master plan is binding upon all of the landowners involved and the future purchasers. The specific requirements for master plan are included on pages 15 through 18 of the PV ordinance. I won't go through all of those. The major addition that I suggested tonight was that some basic requirements of the site plan be included within the master plan drawing, which I'm now terming preliminary master plan. And we are allowing in the draft to allow the staff to make administrative amendments to the master plan as long as there are minor amendments. And we've included on pages 18 and 19 a list of items which cannot be considered a minor amendment. If there are any changes to those items, then it has to come back through the process. Okay, now, Appendix B of the staff report has a list of all of the specific items that planning and zoning asked that we address at the May meeting. And we can, I did write a staff response to each of those items. And some of the items resulted in proposed changes to the draft. Other ones I made a statement as to why I didn't think that the change was necessary. We can go through each of the items, or if you have any specific questions on any of them, I'm glad to discuss them.
Can you go through the 15, because I'm not sure what you gave. I'd like to hear that.
Yeah, well, okay, they're all in here. I mean, her questions are in here and my responses are in here, but
Page 20.
okay, the the first issue was PZ requested more restrictive waiver provisions. And I included a section in the PUD which, let me see if I can refer you to it. Okay, starts on page 12. Well, no, actually, if you list the items on page 13A through G. And that's sort of a shopping list of items that I have seen eligible for waivers in other jurisdictions. As I said, if there are any additions to the list or items that the PZ feels strongly about deleting, I'll be glad to pass that on to council. The list includes height, setbacks, parking and loading, landscaping and buffers, separation of uses, plot coverage, and other provisions of the code which do not specifically prohibit such requests.
Would you be more specific about plot coverage?
Yes.
Plot coverage, well, plot coverage really relates to the internal lots that we had discussed at the previous meeting, the small lots in for example, a shopping center, where the lot size is less than the minimum required, and they're going to be putting an individual building or a parcel, if you will, on that property, that they could ask for a waiver to plot coverage on that parcel.
Hey, hold on. I'm going to interrupt for a second. I haven't been really following procedures correctly. When we, probably before we started this, we should have made a motion to go through 15 items and to approve it before we go on to, so somebody wants to make that motion. Well, we asked to go through this, somebody asked to, but as a committee, we should put forward a motion to do it.
Before you do that, can I make a suggestion on that? Is there something specific, because I read through all of these before the meeting, and I think it's going to take hours for us, excuse me, I'm not angry, I'm tired, to go through each and every one of these and then go back to the standards in here and explain each and every one. So I would suggest that if there's something specific, and you know, I had the same question Veronica did, that maybe we tackle it that way, because we'll be here forever if we have to go through that. And I think part of our job is to sit down and review these, and Jim has always been kind enough that we can pick up the phone if we have a question. Ask.
I didn't know you had those. Where are those?
It starts on page 19, it's attachment B.
I think what the chairman is saying is basically to achieve at least a consensus, if not a motion from you, whether you want to go one by one, just discuss ones where you have questions or whatever for the sake of brevity and moving the item along.
When I came into your office to get this printed, it didn't print.
Yeah, that's it, Lawrence. And if you flip the page, that's all of them. Keep going. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
I guess that's what they're talking about. I don't see any reason
From
to.
page 19 to 23.
Yeah, I don't see any reason to separate these out or anything else. These are just, it's my understanding those 15 are just the points that we made and your response to them.
Yes.
So
That's true.
I would have no problem if we just had a general discussion
Yeah.
of questions that we might have, whether they're part of the 15 or part of the actual ordinance.
Yeah, I thought this was.
No, I'm not ready for a motion yet.
If I did, I'd withdraw, because this is just a mistake of mine, I thought.
All right, so this
I would agree with
Correct.
Veronica.
So, I mean, I have some questions, so whenever you're ready.
You want to proceed? with
Sure,
that question?
okay. As Grace indicated, I have a concern about the waiving these items over here and what we get in exchange. Where does it say in here what we get in exchange? That we don't already have somewhere else, either in the LDC or the comprehensive plan or somewhere else.
Yeah, well, I think that what you're getting is probably listed in other documents that may not be able to be attained. I mean, like if it says in the comprehensive plan we want horse trails. Now, is the town better off by aggregating parcels and getting a long linear horse trail, or is it better off by taking a 0.5 acre parcel and getting a horse trail this big?
Well, I think you should use another example. I've not been following the horse trail people that closely, but having a horse, I can tell you there is no way I'm going to be anywhere near 1,000 feet of Southern Boulevard on a horse. So if you could use something, and again, I don't know what the horse people are coming up with, so maybe they don't have a problem with that, but could you find another example besides the horse trails?
Yeah, and I can tell you, my wife's chairman of that committee, gentlewoman, and they're being led down the Rosie Bridle path or whatever. I mean, that's like, go this way, and then everybody's going that way.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, well, I mean, it's in the comprehensive plan. I mean, you may not use it a bridle path in a commercial development.
What's in the comp plan? Horse trails?
Incorporate,
Yeah.
incorporate horse trails into commercial developments along Southern Boulevard.
Well, boy, and having watched that, I can see why she says stay away from that idea.
I don't wanna throw any rain on anybody's parade anywhere else, but I'm just only commenting for myself. And I would not ride a horse. I would be encouraged to ride one along Okeechobee, but alongside. So that's why, just for my own benefit, if you could think of something else besides a horse
Okay,
trail.
Tangerine, extension of Tangerine. I think it's much more likely to have that happen. With the aid of a commercial PUD that will be under investment.
So what would require the council what would make the council grant a PUD for if an applicant did not, let me
With the
rephrase that.
condition of approval of the
Yeah, what
extension.
if the applicant for a PUD said, no, I'm not gonna do the extension of Tangerine? What would prevent the council from still approving the PUD?
Right.
There would be nothing in there to prevent that. But, I mean, that's up to the council. The council has these different plan directives, that are in the comprehensive plan, and this is a vehicle to assist them in implementing them. And in my mind, it's going to make it easier.
I see your point. I see your point. My concern is, there's nothing that guarantees that we're going to get something for the waivers. And that's what I'm concerned about. I want to see where it says, if they give us this, or if they ask for this, we must get something along this line.
And if I could just add on to what you're saying, if there was a table in here that said, in order to get, waivers of certain things, these are going to be requirements of site plan approval. These will be conditions of approval that you can't get out of. So if you're asking for a waiver of, and maybe there's a laundry list of, you have to provide this, you have to provide this, and then these things would be options.
No, it's crazy.
But I think, and Jim, I made a little note of something that you said, And it has to do with the number of individual property owners, the 1 acre guy that's next to the 10 acre guy. So this could be helpful if you had all of them get together to develop. But if they're doing a master plan and they have to plat this, they're gonna have several different owners. So then, if the goal is to try to get the multiple property owners under a PD, then it would seem to me that if you own a 6 acre parcel that meets all the requirements and you're the only owner, then you should not be eligible to go PD. Because if the goal is to try to get these little pieces to come in and develop together, to try to get the tangerine and the horse trail and the this and the that, then we're taking a proactive, we're going after these properties to try to encourage people to develop together. In reality, I don't think that's ever gonna happen, because it's hard enough to get, people in one room to think alike, but to have 3 or 4 different property owners come in and try to develop, 5 different parcels. I think, like I said in the last meeting, we should focus on the multiple land use, and then, because I can see where there may be property owners who will come in with a PD, who are going to ask for things from us, and we may not come out, we're gonna come out on the short end of the stick. I see this happening,
You know
and
what the
I'm
problem
very
seems to be?
concerned.
You guys you're trying to pick up, you're trying to hold these guys to an idea. And when you talk about a master plan, they're just doing a master plan for each PUD, each parcel. There's no master plan for the town. You've got ULDCs, you've got future land use, but there really isn't a master plan for the town where we say, well, we want Citrus and Persimmon together. We want horse trails, going east-west, here and here and here, north and south, here and here. We want whatever it is that we want that makes it, whatever it is the vision is, a master plan. So that when they're struggling with their master plan, at least they can fit it in to the other master plan. I mean,
Yeah, well, they're,
and then a secondary, is this a super majority or for this vote, or?
Yes.
Because it's not on page 12.
it's a reason, it's a zoning district. It's gonna go in the ULDC, and the ULDC has approval for procedures for all rezonings, which is what this would be. And it requires a simple majority, yes. Well, I don't see why one property owner with six acres should be excluded when we're saying that this is a benefit or a good thing, or going to encourage smaller property owners that can aggregate 6 acres. We can still get the same results, whether it's 3 property owners or 1. And I think that town has a bunch of different planning documents, and if you take bits and pieces out of all of those documents, you really have the backbone or the spine, if you will, for a master plan for the corridor there. It's just how do you, what kind of a vehicle can you offer property owners to bring all of these different directions together? And I think that this PUD does it.
Has anyone approached the town, I'm sorry, Veronica, kind of out of order. Has anyone approached the town as a collective to say, we would like to come forward and as a group and develop our properties, and we'd like a vehicle to do that? Because I know there is a property owner who is interested in this for the development of their property, but it's a single property.
Right.
But, I mean, if the goal is to try to get a better product instead of several different, little things, then that's one thing. Because if that's what we're saying, then the 6 acre, 10 acre, 20 acre guy doesn't need this. But I don't know, I just
Yeah, well, I mean,
feel uncomfortable with it.
yeah, if we
Can you give the answer to that question?
Yeah.
If we limit it to the MLU only, which has a minimum parcel size of 50 acres, I mean, if you don't think there's gonna be many opportunities at 6 acres, how many applicants are gonna come in at 50? I mean, the MLU that we currently have on V Road, if I was a betting man, I would say that might be the only one that we've ever had.
Is that a bad thing?
Well, I mean, if you're trying to, I don't believe that Tangerine would have been extended through that property. I mean, that's already shown in their preliminary master plan that they.
Yeah, but it
It's
will
only
stop.
a bad thing because it sucks.
Yeah, it will,
The planning
it doesn't,
sucks.
you know, in the current, with the commercial piece that's part of the college, you have the Tangerine up here, and then they're putting Tangerine down here, and then it doesn't go through to the college, so we've already crossed that bridge, Jim, I'm just.
No, I don't think so. We crossed that bridge as far as east or west of B. And the town council, at a meeting a couple months ago, was pretty adamant in their expression that they did not want Tangerine to go all the way to A.
Mhm.
So, with this, with the MLU that we have the opportunity to extend Tangerine all the way from B to C, and that's a big step. I seriously doubt we're going to have any more MLUs. However, we are, I think we should create the opportunity for planning directives like Tangerine to give that the best chance we can for that to happen.
Well, then maybe like Veronica suggested, we need to put something in here that says, if you are going to move forward with these requests, these are things that are just going to be standard conditions of approval. You have to include your horse trail. And the horse trail shouldn't be like all over the place. It should be one continuous horse trail that runs on the northern side of the properties. I mean, whatever it is. If we're going to give them the opportunity to be creative, we also have to say, we're going to let you be creative, but these are things that we are not going to bend on. They are part of our comp plan. We're giving you this opportunity to get some things that you would not normally get under the straight zoning, but you have to provide Tangerine, and you have to do this, and you have to do that. Because that'll weed out the people who want the perks just to get the perks and really aren't interested in giving anything up. I feel so strongly about this, Jim. I mean, I couldn't support this, this request with that in there unless we had something that made them. You have to require them to do it because they're tricky. They'll talk their way out of it. I know.
Yeah, well, I think connectivity is another thing. I mean, and I know what you're going to say. Well, we can have it under standard zoning, but the larger the parcel, the more properties are connected.
Mm-hmm.
So if we give this opportunity for a PUD, we have the opportunity to have several parcels at the same time, or
I just think it's important that the property owners who come in know that this is going to be required. This is not a negotiable item. This is something that the town has talked about in all of these documents. And if you really want to move forward with this master plan, which we would encourage you to do, you have to do this as well. I don't know how, I'd like to hear how the rest of the board feel about that. I don't know, I think that we,
If you have no other questions.
Well, I wanted to let Jim finish before.
oh yeah, I'm essentially finished answering Grace's question. I just think that the PUD gives us, if we limit it to the MLU, we're losing an opportunity to implement town planning directives by limiting development to straight zoning. We're looking for a little bit bigger parcels. We're looking for parcels that extend all the way to Tangerine, or combinations of properties, or a property that extend all the way to Tangerine. If you look at Southern Boulevard now, especially east of C, a lot of properties don't go that far north. And if we have just development along Southern Boulevard Strip, and we're essentially leaving a no man's land back in behind there in Tangerine, then what are our chances of ever having Tangerine extended? Guess we could argue this one till the cows come home.
Yeah, Ron.
I would like to hear the answer to Grace's question, which was, has anybody contacted you or the town, other than the MLE people, regarding the possibility of using the PUD?
Well, the only other one that I know is interested in it is the shopping center portion of the State College property. No other ones have.
And what is the size of the 3 lots that are being considered for administrative rezoning?
2.2.
Altogether?
Yeah, 0.8, 0.53.
That's right, that's not big enough. And that, those properties only extend halfway to the Tangerine extension. If they extended that far north, they'd be perfect. And there were 6 acres.
I think I would be more comfortable if I don't think that I have too much of a problem with the waivers that you listed, but I would feel much more comfortable if there were another section in this ordinance that says, in exchange for those waivers, you must meet 2 of the 5, or 3 of the 5, or 1 of the 5, or whatever, of the following directives, and they should not be things that they already have to do. I would feel more comfortable. I feel like we're getting some bang for our buck. And I really don't have a problem with 6 acres for minimum size commercial. I don't care if it's a single person, single owner, or accumulated owners, as long as there's that other side that says, you're gonna get some bennies, but in exchange for those bennies, we're gonna get some bennies. But I think it has to be more definitive, Jim, and I think that's because I would hate to put the town council into a position where they feel pressured to approve a PUD without getting those bennies because the ordinance wasn't strong enough for them to get those. I can't tell you what they ought to be either, but I just, all the reasons that you gave for why it would be beneficial would be a good listing.
You know, if there was a town master plan, it would be easier to realize, to know what that priority list is. You would know that this is what the people here want. I mean, we've done this listed once, but we don't follow it. No one's following it. These guys are working their tails off because the developers can't wait to eat this place for breakfast. You know, I mean, it's.
You said we've done a list once?
Well, if you had sort of master planning ideas, if you had the place figured out in a modern sort of way, then these professionals would say, yeah, this is what's on it, boom, boom, boom. But they don't know. I mean, they don't know where, if they don't know where to look.
I think it's in the documents, I just don't think it's prioritized. This is number 1, this is number 2, and maybe it is. Maybe Tangerine is number 1, and Horse Trails are number 2, and so forth.
I had another question too. Under your administrative amendments, I had a problem with this last time, I still have a problem with this. Part of the problem I have is that we still have these kind of nebulous terms. Change the general character of content. I'm not sure exactly what that means. Have an appreciable effect. What's appreciable versus not appreciable? Result in a substantial change of major. What's substantial and what isn't substantial? I'm a little concerned about those, and perhaps the town's attorney could weigh in on how, if those could be, yeah.
Which page is that?
I'm on page 18 under D, and I'm looking at some of the administrative amendments. I have a problem with the administrative amendments concept anyway, but if they could be a little more definitive, perhaps I wouldn't have such a concern about them.
The items that can be administratively waived?
Right, it says they cannot waive a change to the general character or content, and I'm not sure what that means. they can't be waived if they have an appreciable effect. Well, what's appreciable and what's not?
Mhm.
Same for number 5, what's a substantial change and what isn't?
Right.
I have, if it weren't administrative, I wouldn't have any problem with that, because then the town council could make that qualitative decision. But since it's administrative, I think it needs to be a little more definitive.
It could be challenged if staff defines
Well,
something.
I guess the issue is, I mean, to me, I'm looking at this, and maybe the key is what is minor? Because obviously a minor deviation should not, I mean, in and of itself, you would think it would not affect the plat, it would not conflict with specific requirements, it would not affect general character.
So is there a way to quantify?
I mean, I guess the issue is, you know, how do we define minor? That's something I hate to go off the top of my head, but if I'm, you know, I mean, the other way is, you know, is it minor if it doesn't meet these 7, and then it gets back to your question about the tail wagging the dog, so to speak, you know, which the horse, the chicken or the egg.
Right.
So, go ahead.
I was
I'm not
gonna
a
say,
planner,
I think I understand where you're coming from, and I've seen the ordinances written that way. It would probably necessitate probably a rewrite here, because I think what you start talking about getting into is, you know, percentages, and will percentages affect certain things, changes, let's say, you know, you were talking about changes to the structure, and, you know, a barrel tile roofing was proposed, and now they want to make a change out, is it gonna affect the value by 10% or whatever, and you put those kind of limitations on, but that would really require a major rewrite, probably. I think I agree with you, the language here in general, based upon where you want to go, probably doesn't give you that comfort level that you're looking for.
And you know, it's one thing when we have a town manager who has a strong planning background, but should there be some time in the future that we have one that does not, that becomes a little more important.
The other thing is that the document refers to rural Vista guidelines a lot. And if that is what might be backing up this general and appreciable and substantial, I don't think that's a good idea, because I've driven around with that thing showing planners that document, and you really can't say on primetime their views are.
Yeah, that's sort of a double-edged sword, because there are just the guidelines that have never been officially adopted by the town. But they're specifically referenced in the comprehensive plan and in the zoning ordinances.
Well, you could say it's an admirable sort of thing put together by residents, but it's rising to a level of, you know, that it probably shouldn't.
At some point, we need to actually do an amendment that does adopt them formally. We won't be able to do that right now because we have a moratorium pending, so it's probably going to have to happen after the moratorium.
So,
Well,
what are these minor amendments, any thoughts on?
Well, I think it can be redrafted, but the only concern we have, I guess, let me jump into that now, is our concern was, this is the second review of this, and we don't really feel, based upon all the other work items associated with the developments that we're dealing with right now, that we can keep kicking it around. We were hoping that tonight you could either vote it up or down if you don't like it, but so we can move it on to town council. Now, I suppose you could put a condition on your, if you were gonna approve it, you could put a condition that we attempt to rewrite this section and give us some direction. And I think Jim, you're kind of understanding now what the law is, right?
I absolutely understand.
Yeah.
But this was really your first shot at it, and this was our first look at it, because it wasn't a first, so.
Well, and our approval's only to go to the town council.
With a
so
recommendation.
comments, They would take that as consideration.
And what we would do is we would bring, obviously, the amendment that you did see back to you to show you what we did while it's going through council, if that's the case.
Right.
you know, some of these planners today, when they do a master plan, they also do visuals. You know, they draw, they code it, and then they do visuals. So you have a much more professional, thought-out thing that's been vetted again by the public. and the Rural Vista guidelines could be a launching point, you know? Especially if you're gonna start quoting it in all this, and then you go to approve it, you know, and it's sort of, I don't know.
Well, World Business
Yeah.
aren't prescriptive anyways.
Well,
we have
a lot
requirements.
a lot of good planners use that technique as part of, that's something for the non-priests of the world,
Mhm.
non-planning priests can come in and comprehend what it is that you're saying without cross-referencing 3 different sections of a code book.
Well, we have a requirement for elevations to be provided in here. So you can get a pretty good idea of what the architecture is going to look like from the elevations that are provided as part of this.
Per each master plan as it comes forward.
Mhm.
Yes.
I don't mind taking a stab at something,
Okay.
if you so inclined. I am fairly comfortable with this, and I appreciate the work that went into it. My 2 concerns are the trade-offs for the waivers and hardening up the administrative amendments section. So perhaps if you could, I know I'm putting you on the spot, list those trade-offs that you see as being beneficial that aren't already required or that couldn't be met by smaller parcels. I wouldn't mind making a motion approving it with those waivers, with those trade-offs in there, as long as somebody can come up with some better language for the administrative amendments, if the committee is in agreement about that.
Okay, are you asking me to come up with this right now, or?
Well, if you don't want to wait, I mean,
Well, yeah,
I'm
okay, let
game.
me, because I think there's several inferences or references in here that if we sort of went through them.
Mr. Chairman, is that all right if we do that?
Sure, I don't desire.
We get to that, and we can go up with comments with them. Because we do have public comments.
So you working through that?
Why don't you do that now? Then he gives him a chance to kind of look at it.
If he's gonna look at I had a thought on the administrative waiver thing,
Okay.
and it's kind of very different than what you have here. Just a thought. So,
Okay.
you did not permit administrative waivers, but you allowed amendments to the master plan to be done only through the site plan approval. Because the site plan approval is a more formal process, it has to be approved by council. During most of the things that when I would think that the need to amend the master plan would come up through the site plan process. Maybe that you'd notice a conflict of, through engineering, that something needed to be here or there. Those are the type of things I see, administrative things, like when they engineered and someone told them, well, you had to have your water lines here. Well, I can't have my water lines here because that was where I can't have, something else. So we allow them to move the dumpster 15 feet over and move the tree up 10 feet. That's like a minor thing. But those type of things should all be encompassed in a final site plan. So rather than allowing, you talked about before about how you amend the master plan, if the site plan's different. The master plan can only be amended at the time of final site plan approval, which is done, does the site plan go to DRC? It goes to DRC, it goes to council. So at least you take the administrator making a unilateral decision, what's minor, what affects the general, and
So
Yeah,
this is,
it really wouldn't be a new site plan per se, it'd be a site plan amendment, so therefore the developer wouldn't be losing any rights, and if you don't agree to the amendment, it's the regular master plan's still in effect, they just don't get the amendment.
and if it's minor, it should be able to be reflected in a site plan, because that site plan is the final development.
so using these statements here would be when you could amend your site plan if it didn't do any of those
You
ones
can
you
amend the
said.
master plan through site plan approval, but didn't do these things. And the person would decide whether it was substantial, general character, all those things would be the town council at a public hearing, adopted by resolution. And
But what if it's, because my experience with when you do minor amendments to PDs, it's generally like years later. Something happens that changed, whether it was through a phasing process or something like that.
we've done site plan amendments. I know there was the church.
I was
And it's come
gonna
back
bring-
just to move the sign.
Yeah.
And we bring it back and we adopt a new resolution to amend the earlier approved site plan to allow this sign, or there was another part of that church too, we've done 2 or 3
Yeah.
amendments. So if you notice that after site plan, that you need to amend your site plan, you have to come back to, we do have in our code a site plan amendment process, right?
Yeah, but I was so surprised at that something that minor in the planning world required town council approval.
I
Where
think on the sign, I think it
Yeah.
affected circulation or it moved the entrance to the property. It did more than just the sign design. It was something else.
I
It
thought it
created-
was the retention pond, had something to do with the
It
relocation.
was-
4 things.
There were like
No,
2 or
no,
3 things that
But see,
dominoed.
yeah, something like a sign, I would think that should be at staff level, and a letter is written, and then you put it in the file, and you have now amended the site plan, because it's so minor that you really don't need the cost that goes with it.
But when it comes to what we're talking here is a master plan, you know, then it gets, then you have the site plan, and then you take, then the master plan and the site plan become one. At the site, and then that way any changes, anything that changes has to go through site plan, and if the site plan procedure exists already for minor deviations, at least you're not gonna have major change between master plan and site plan that affects character. It's just a thought.
All right,
you know?
now I want to make sure I understand what you're saying. I thought I did, and now I think I've lost my again.
I'm
Under
sorry,
administrative
because that was when I
amendments.
talk too much.
No, that's right. Under administrative amendments, it says upon application, approved master plan may be administratively amended. So what we would say is, it can be amended by site plan, provided that such proposed amendment does not do any of those things, in which case the master plan has to be amended. Is that, do I have?
Yes.
But then either way, you're going through the same process, you have to go back to the council, so what's the difference?
Well, you're taking it out of a individual's hand, the non-planner town manager. Right now you got a planner, and you're making it a public process, and you're sending it to our elected officials.
That just seems like a very costly, I mean.
But they have to do the site plan anyway.
Right, but you can do that through a letter. I mean, when someone,
No, no, no.
when you
No, no,
do
no.
the minor amendment, if you do a minor amendment, you have to resubmit a new site plan showing what it is you're changing.
I
So,
If we have a site plan in place,
yes,
right, then if someone wants to come and change something later, like a sign,
yeah,
we would look at the code for how we do site plan amendments, and whether there's something there for minor and major. This is only for when they come in early with the preliminary master plan, then they want to change it.
I wasn't reading it that way.
And then
When you make a change, because,
this is talking about changing the master plan.
okay, well then maybe I'm using the
Well, we
wrong
have
definition
PUDs that change
of
their
master
master
plan.
plans 25 years after they've been
Right,
approved.
right. No,
So now
Okay, so that's too restrictive then by only allowing a change of master plan through site plan amendment.
yeah, I think so.
Okay, again, that's why I throw it out there and
Yeah.
talk it out.
Let me try one more, maybe we'll do a paradigm here. Jim, I didn't see anything, I was looking, trying to remember, I looked at this so many times, I'm losing sight of what's in it, but we didn't, we kind of talk about applicability. Maybe if we changed our focus to the beginning of the process, and we said, in addition to having to meet the 50 acres and those basic requirements, the applicant has to submit a proposition, if you will, or a scenario as to why they feel they need the master plan PUD, what are the issues, and why are they going to change it, and have the decision made up front with a recommendation to council, whether we even entertain it. And then maybe if we can, and then if that way you get some very good information up front, what is the development scheme, what is the reason why they need to go through the process, and we need to consider waivers and all this good stuff. And then,
There are cities who do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
make the determination up front.
That's
And then,
right.
and once you have all that information up front, at least you'll have an idea, okay, here's what they're gonna try to do, and then maybe that would make some of this stuff on the back end a little more palatable. Just, I'll top of it. Jim, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you mean as far as what they're gonna give to are we back on the?
Why are you even coming in for the PUD in the first
Yeah, he
place?
totally
What is the
changed
topics.
compelling need to even present this to us, and what are you looking for? And
That still doesn't,
Application.
that's still,
Yeah,
I don't think
exactly.
there's anything there, though, that compels Benny's for Benny's.
I still think you need to have that in there, but I like
It'd
that
be very
idea.
compelling, wouldn't it?
Yeah, still like that idea.
Have them come in first with like a,
Like the perfect developer, I'm gonna give you tangerine, I'm gonna give you horse trails, I'm gonna do this, because I love the town. And we go,
Well-
yes, yes, yes.
I don't know what to tell you about the site, the whole site plan issue, because I was thinking of this, I looked at this actually both during and after final master plan approval.
Mm-hmm, I did too.
And I was concerned about changes administratively. So in my mind, I see what you're saying. If the requirements for a site plan approval are at the same level as the requirements for a master plan amendment, we haven't hit the happy medium yet.
Okay. Well, like I said,
But what, I think what you're saying is if you go to the site plan provisions, and those things are so minor that you don't have to get town council approval, and continue with the site plan process, is that what you were saying?
mhm.
Yeah, that's one, yeah. That might minimize it, but,
So
But
you
then you
kick-
still got
kick it
some that are gonna-
upstairs with those provisions?
pardon,
Kick it upstairs with those provisions? Is that the?
you mean this ordinance? Well, if we can come up with something, yeah.
What would be an example, Jim, of something that would be a site plan change that would not require town council approval?
Okay, if, for example, when they went through the site plan process, and the preliminary site plan had the location of the parking lot,
Mhm.
and it had a rough estimate of where the retention pond was.
Mhm.
And they did the detailed engineering plans, which is the retention ponds that are very small. So
Okay.
you need to move the parking lot 10 feet east.
Okay.
You know, it doesn't really change anything, except it's required to meet the permitting requirements of the
Mhm.
agency.
Okay.
So an agency oversight.
Well,
Another
no,
agency.
it's not an agency oversight, it's just when,
You can
when
correct
that
that agency
agency.
oversight, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, that's an example. The location of buildings on the site, when you come down to the final site plan, may need to be adjusted a little bit. Yeah, well, I'm moved around, but the square footage is not changed.
Right.
A couple feet in one direction,
Yeah, whatever, I mean, I don't think
It was-
we could say, limited to moving 5 feet or something like that, but,
What if there's a reduction in square footage? What if you reduce the size of the building? Would that have to go back?
I would say that would not.
See, that's okay. That might actually be okay then.
Yeah. And sometimes in order, like if they went and they did their drainage plans, and they found out, for example, okay, we've got to keep the parking, we've got to keep the setbacks, the pond has to be bigger, so the building has to be smaller.
Mhm.
I would say that that's a minor.
What do you think of that, Veronica?
Oh, boy, I was so busy writing
Oh,
this, that I don't think I got a solution to one of these, but sorry. Well, here's what I got. I put, like, how's this sound to you? Under
Wonderful.
page 18, section D. I know the hour's late.
No, I'm just
Um,
using it.
Under administrative amendments, upon application and based upon a review and recommendation by the town's staff and consultants, then skipping down, an approved master plan may be amended through site plan
Process?
procedures outlined in section blah, 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 blah.
We were just talking about that, because if you look at the site plan approval, there's a list of 10 items that can be
Okay.
administratively
Can you read
approved.
them?
Absolutely.
Please?
Relocation, substitution of landscaping materials.
Okay,
Absolutely.
Minor architectural modifications, including awnings and canopies.
good.
Construction of bus stop shelters. Erection of signs. Diminution, thank you, of a sizable structure. So you could enlarge,
Yeah.
you could reduce. Demolition of a structure, again, it's reducing.
Right.
Waterway maintenance activities. Subdivision of land. Road maintenance activities. And clearing and excavation of land. Those 10 items.
With subdivision
Yeah.
land is the only thing I have a problem.
Yeah, because it depends on it's a minor subdivision or, I mean,
Yeah.
two or more
I'm
parcels.
shocked that that's in there, actually.
Yeah.
So long as it doesn't violate any condition of site approval, so you couldn't subdivide it if the condition was it had to be unified title.
Okay.
Okay.
But that's to build out, say, something that's already been, the
Yeah.
volume has already been designated. So you have a piece of land, you may be thinking in the future, I'm gonna subdivide that into two pieces.
Mhm.
But you've already done the volume
completed it.
study on each one.
I think
And that's
that's,
been approved.
Yeah,
that is what
and that's
Veronica
what
said.
basically you said
Yep.
we would refer to the site plan for the, you know, we were looking at it from a different way with the way you wrote it.
And that's a whole lot easier.
Mhm. And then you just look at this section and say,
Yeah.
well, the master plan and site plan, they're supposed to be hand in hand, same subject matters.
And then we're consistent. That's
So,
good.
so we would have, upon application, based upon a review and recommendation by the town staff and consultants, an approved master plan may be amended through site plan review as contained in section wherever it is, provided that such proposed amendment does not yada, yada, yada.
So you would have a second layer, at least you would have the first filter of these subject
Yeah.
matters.
Right.
And then he could say, yeah, but you know, even though it's diminishing the size of the structure, or it's the tear down of the structure, it's really, that was the key focal point of this whole
Right.
development.
And-
You know, and it's affecting, in my view, the general character.
Right.
So at least it would get through that first layer of the onion before he even has to look at these things.
That's good.
It's a double thing, so.
And the only thing I have left is the trade-offs. Now, Jim, we gave you some time.
I just want to make sure I didn't miss
She's
it.
tough.
Okay, I'll start off with this one. I don't necessarily have any specific criteria, this is sort of like a list of items, I guess.
The wish list.
First of all, Tangerine Road. Joint use of driveways, cross access, preservation of natural areas, buffers and trails, additional open space over and above the requirements
Horse trails.
in the code, off-site road improvements, increased impervious area, landscape in excess of code requirements, underground utilities.
Well, that's gonna be required anyway, as part of the PD.
Underground utilities.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Okay.
I mean, we can strike some of these or pick and choose. I'm just trying to get the list.
That's good.
Yeah, I thought that those
Can you put horse under the horse trail? Because if it's a horse trail, you can certainly be big enough to walk.
And let's see, increased use of native vegetation.
There should be some that we really push hard to get and others that could be an option.
How about,
Um,
oh, sorry.
That was it.
Well,
How about something that says, something like this? In order for waivers to be granted, maybe another section, there must be a significant contribution in the following areas, or in a substantial contribution within this area,
and then list these items.
and then list those items. Now,
But what if they don't pick Tangerine? What if they pick, I did more landscaping, I did a horse
Well,
trail, I did.
Okay, well, they have to be, the properties have to be big enough to include Tangerine.
Right.
And so So
So that should be mandatory.
Yes, that's what
I
I'm
think
saying.
that, yeah, yes,
That
I
is
think
The
that,
same with the horse trails, that should be mandatory.
well, I think that.
Those are square footage on the ground stuff.
Yeah, well, an applicant can go through this list and pick the three easiest.
Yeah.
And propose that, and then when they come here, and when they go to council, I can say, no, we have to have tangible.
That's gonna cost them money to redesign though. I think we need to be upfront with everyone who comes to us and just say, listen, these are things that we're willing to negotiate with you, but these are things we're not willing to negotiate. So maybe the two most important things for the community in that area is Tangerine and the horse trails. And then you pick one other thing, or you pick two other things, or whatever it is.
It's two categories.
Yeah.
One is mandatory.
Yes,
Horse trails and Tangerine.
yes.
The second is a significant contribution in these areas.
Yes.
And I don't, that's the key, is how to word that. All of these areas, some of these areas, one of these areas, one or more.
Yeah. And then
That's the only thing left in my mind from recommending that the town council consider this. So, do
So
we-
we have two mandatory.
What's
We agree with that, tangerine and,
Where,
And if the community.
you'd have to create a new section
Oh,
under,
yeah.
under waivers. But you know what if they come in and they don't ask for waivers? I still think if they come in for the PD, the two mandatory things are mandatory, and then the other options, or if you ask for waivers, you will also be required to do your,
Oh, that's a good idea.
yeah.
Okay.
And it's only because we're lacking a master plan. And I know you guys, I know I've been harping on it for so long, and I know you don't want to hear it anymore.
No, that's not it.
You guys want to
I don't mind
work
hearing it
until
at
you
7
fall
o'clock.
over. I mean, it's gonna cost so much work, and it is causing so much work. You're coming back to the council saying, you know,
I think,
I mean, you only have one door going in your office now, you've locked the other one. I want to get to that. You know, you're being overrun.
Yeah, and, can we get public comment first?
Yeah, absolutely.
well, just back on that,
no, sorry.
just real quick, we're going to include tangerine and horse trails as mandatory with or without waivers.
Yes.
And in the list of waivers, maybe we can have, put in there a discussion and commitment as to how you're going to address all of those items.
'Cause- and
Not
then-
under waivers, under, oh, you
Yeah.
mean in a section that says
Yeah.
consider it, but, all right.
But I don't think they should be allowed to get a waiver from the landscaping. And I would ask that come out, because, you know, we're a rural community and we want as much green as we possibly could get. So I really don't think we should give them an option. We want more.
Landscaping is always the part of the budget.
Yeah.
so we do that as a waivable.
I would ask that. I don't know how my fellow board members.
It's fine with me.
Okay. Motion.
300.
She's good.
Anything else?
Okay, yeah, I was just going to propose that we put in there this list of items, and the applicant has to address how, has to discuss in his statement of use, how he's going to address all of those items in his waiver request.
I was thinking of a separate, maybe an A, here are the waivers you can get, and B, here is what you have to address in order to be considered for the waiver.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Oh,
Now, do we want to, but let me ask you something, do you want to limit those only if they want waivers? What if they don't want waivers, but they would still be willing to address some of those? You know what I'm saying? Mark, do you think that's, do you think they'll do that? Do you think they would even consider offering some of these other items if they weren't coming in for any waivers?
Possibly, I mean, that was part of my thought process when I was talking about that compelling statement to justify even the use for the master plan PUD. I mean,
We
laws us away with a development scheme and then explain why you have to do it. And then if you're gonna ask for waivers, tell us up front what the waivers are so that we could judge whether it has merit or not. And if you wanna add a few, we'll be happy to.
Where's the statement of use? Is there an application section?
Yeah, statement of use is in there as a requirement. And in the statement of use, it's required that you discuss waivers. And what the requirements are, well, it's not that detailed now, but that's what it's mentioning. You have to discuss the waivers in the statement of use.
I'm just looking for,
He's looking for the actual language to.
Of the waiver or the statement of use?
okay, probably the.
Yeah, listing.
Yeah.
Putting in the statement of use some version for,
Well, I'm actually ready.
Oh, here's the application requirements.
Yeah.
Where's the statement of use?
Wherever you want to put it, I would suggest we add wording that says you are encouraged to address whatever that section is, that list of stuff. And you must make a significant contribution of that stuff if you are requesting waivers. How does anybody feel about that?
and what about just to, on your statement? You might have put a part in for doing the conditions or something, don't give them conditions, include that sort of hope. for
Sure.
your statement.
Sure, yeah. According to what Mark said about adding it to a statement.
We use this time for
Public
public
comment?
comment?
I think so.
Right, where's the public comment supposed to occur from? They don't have a podium, they just stand up.
They just stand up and.
I would,
They can
yeah,
sit next
I
to
would
Jen.
suggest, yeah, it's kind of,
I don't have to stand up, everybody was talking from here, but I'm
It'd be
comfortable here.
nice for the camera though, that they could see you.
No, I don't do good on cameras.
But we need to hear you.
Trust
though.
me,
We need
Nice
to
and
hear
loud.
I'll be loud, I can do that. Okay,
you. State your name and address.
you ready?
Excuse me.
Thais Gonzalez, 13090 Raymond Drive. Whew, I'm the only one here, and it's been a long meeting, so I think I may have more than 3 minutes. I don't know, hopefully not. Lots of questions, some comments. One of the things that I don't quite understand, that I do find a little bit confusing, is the plan is being proposed to expedite certain, certain, I'm sorry, I'm like,
Certain approval processes, no.
yeah, it's not to expedite, so because I'm a little bit confused, I mean, it's, most of the time I believe that if I am a developer, I would come and buy 1, 2, 3, 4 different properties from different people, and then I would own them all, and then I would develop. I don't quite understand the point of, like how many, I'm not gonna go with my neighbor, hey, let's get into a business and make a development. I would probably sell.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's giving them the opportunity to go together, possibly get some approvals, and then sell the entire thing as an approved development.
With the approvals, okay, so I would do the approval for the developer, that would come
Well,
later.
yeah, I mean,
so to speak.
that's a possibility. I'm not saying many people will opt to do that, but that is a possibility. Or if you have, say you have a parcel of land that is behind the frontage on Southern Boulevard, and there's a small parcel in front, okay, and you have almost no potential to ever develop it because of where you're located. You have no access, you don't have any frontage. You go to the property owners along Southern and the other properties back behind and say, well, let's get together and in an approved plan, and we can sell the entire thing and we can all make money. Where right now, my chances of ever selling it, and I don't want to build my house there, that kind of thing.
Okay, I think I sort of understand it better now. So it's
just
free
an
of the
opportunity.
developers to say, okay, we can develop here. We already have kind of like sort of the approval, so
Yeah, I mean-
we'll buy.
And,
Okay.
and it isn't, it it gives the property owner another alternative to do something with his property where it's very limited possibility now.
Okay. Well, the way I see this, I don't quite understand the benefit for the whole town. I understand the benefit of the owners of the properties along South. But that also means, like, you know, we also was mentioned before, more traffic, you know. So I was wondering also if the entrance would only be through Southern, or are these places going to have an entrance through Citrus or Pineapple, whatever they want to call it?
Yes.
Tangerine.
Yeah, they would have an entrance through Tangerine.
I'm not excited about that personally.
Yeah. Well,
Also,
that's,
Veronica said, because that would, I feel that would interfere with the equestrian trail. Because as Veronica said, you know, I don't want to, we're not in Wellington, so the horses around here are not show horses that are used to the lights, the people, and everything. This is, you know, rural horses.
Yeah.
So that would make me, as a horse person that I am, just so you know, that would make me feel uncomfortable. You know, I feel the same way.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's been a stated objective of the town in all of their planning documents that they want Tangerine to go all the way through.
I mean, I'm happy with that, because if you go through, for what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, that would be the equestrian trail.
Well, it could be incorporated as part of.
So when you were talking about the businesses, I was thinking that the benefit of, you know, waivers and all that would be that they would develop that area, like the Tangerine Street, for what we want as a town, not for the entrance of the businesses, because that would increase traffic in that area and definitely would not be, I don't think it would be compatible with the horse trail and all that. I would be happy to say, okay, you know, let's meet in the middle, the entrance from Southern, always stay on that side, don't bother. That's my personal.
Yeah, well, certainly the great majority of the traffic, in my mind, would enter through Southern, regardless of whether there's an entrance from Tangerine or not.
Yeah, but a lot of people, and what I'm trying to say, let's say E Road or D Road or like all of these roads, lateral roads, they would like make the turn on Citrus to go into, if they have that option, instead of going around, go through Southern and have the entrance there.
Well, that's true.
I mean.
People
that's-
that live in the groves, for sure.
Yeah. So, the other question that arises is, you mentioned a minimum of 450 feet deep. Every property there, I mean, from Southern to Citrus, or Tangerine, I'm sorry, I keep changing the name. Every property there meets that minimum?
No.
So what would happen then?
Well, they couldn't apply for a PUD. They have to, it has to be a individually owned property or a group of property owners that get together whose property extends to where
Okay, so
Tangerine
one of
is going to come
one of
through.
the properties,
Right. If
properties
it just
have to
runs
meet that.
like these
Gotcha.
These two parcels we're going to talk about later don't only extend halfway to Tangerine, so they could not apply for a PUD.
Gotcha, okay.
Because
But
they're not
some
gonna
of
be
the other
providing
ones
that
would have to, in order to have the.
They'd have to join with them.
Okay. I'm very happy you guys came to an agreement about the laundry list and the minimum requirements, because that was probably me insane. But I think that's just great. So let me, I'm sorry, go through my own list here. So as of right now, well, I think that kind of answered that question. As of right now, is there any way to get a waiver for any of these commercial properties that are individual?
No.
No.
Well, the only way you can do it now, if you went straight zoning, you could ask for what's called a variance.
Which that's a very long process, or
Well,
would this help expedite that?
yes, it probably would. Number one, a variance does not come before this board, so this board would have no opportunity to comment as a board.
Okay.
The waiver process does come through this board. That is another vehicle, but a waiver, a variance very often is a little bit difficult to prove, and you don't have the opportunity to provide benefits as a way of assisting in gaining a variance. So it's a similar process, but different in how it's administered, and there's no benefits to the town involved.
Well, I think that's really like the biggest comment I have is that I would be very happy, if this only would happen through Southern and not through Tangerine, and have these businesses of these commercial properties, develop the area of Tangerine, to be continue and to be able to have the horse trail in. So I waited all this time just to say that. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, can I just, I know you want to make a motion.
No, I actually had a question.
Okay, then go ahead. Before you make a motion, I just wanted to speak on logistics.
Okay. Our speaker made a comment about restricting the access in the rear, and that's a pretty good comment, because that is going to force the flow from inside the roads onto those rear streets. How do we feel about that?
Haven't I heard that there's a lot of commercial properties that would desire to face Tangerine in future use? So why would you, have them come around on the southern and a traffic flow would come back to get to a storefront that's already on Tangerine? That's the concept of commercial development in that corridor.
It's supposed to be like a Main Street kind of a
Tangerine?
deal.
I don't see how that would benefit the town though, I'm sorry.
I have two comments. One, the horse trail, from my understanding, should it ever appear, is south of Collecting Canal running east-west. So if you look at the canal, and on that south bank running east-west is where I hear it's being discussed. And who knows if that'll ever happen, but it's not close to persimmon or orange or citrus or whatever that is, tangerine.
Okay, well, I wasn't aware of that, because I was at that meeting and they didn't even know which streets they trail. I mean, maybe I missed one, but.
And when we saw the drawing for the shopping center, you saw something that really wasn't heading towards a Main Street approach. It was heading towards the typical sprawl type deal. If it had facing retail streets that were streetscaped and blah, 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 as it moves down, that would be something moving towards a Main Street.
Maybe that's what we ought to add into our list.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
Back to
I don't
the
even know how
master
they're
plan
gonna
of the city.
fill, I don't even know how they're gonna fill this kind of stuff. I mean, it's, drawing it and getting people to fill it is two different things. I don't know.
I think the goal of Tangerine, besides the Main Street, was also to capture internal trips. So you're not driving out to Southern and coming back in. So I think the vision of that and the reality of it happening may be two different things.
But if that's our vision, maybe that's, if we're talking about a master, if we've been talking about a master plan and that's one of the ideas, maybe we ought to incorporate that into your list of
But someone
They
just
really
said,
need to figure out what it is they want to be when they grow up.
yeah, I don't know who said it, but generally speaking, if you're retail and you want to be seen from Southern, so if you create this little street, then you're going to have businesses facing businesses. The one that's on the south side of Tangerine is going to have its back to Southern and the parking, and they may not be successful. It may be very difficult. I don't agree or disagree one way or the other with the Tangerine concept. I'm just saying it's going to be a challenge for that to come out as the folks visualized it. Because like Lauren said, the plan that they attempted to create the Main Street on Tangerine isn't exactly, I think, what the town had hoped for. But it's the closest thing you're going to get in a strip center. So.
See, I'm thinking that if there is that idea to create Tangerine as a main street, then we would want people to focus facing Tangerine. However, if it doesn't turn out that way and they're going to face Southern, then I'm kind of inclined to restrict access. Yeah, because now all you're doing is just creating trips and sure, you're gonna help those residents that wanna get up to that center and not have to go out on Southern, but that's gonna affect all those people behind.
I'm sorry, but one more comment, but like, to me, you know, we love Loxahatchee the way it is, and we want to keep it rural and all that. So the perimeter, okay, fine, you know, but if we go into Tangerine, we're already taking a big into our Loxahatchee. And then it's gonna come the next bit and the next bit, and then what's gonna happen, you know? I mean, thinking about my kids in the future.
Well, really, this is an issue for town council.
Yeah.
This isn't for here.
But it's a very.
Well, but you guys are presenting it there, right? I mean, are you giving your recommendations, yeah?
This one note, okay. We were sitting here talking that if we wanted to bring this back to you, it's not gonna delay council consideration because there is no meeting on July 3rd, and it's not gonna be ready for the 26th, which says that agenda is already brimming over with the state college and the second reading and moratorium on other items because of the lack of a meeting on July 3rd.
So 26th of June?
The 26th of June. And so to come back here on the 12th, the meeting after that's the 17th. And what we were talking over here doing is putting this in the actual ordinance form for you to see with all the changes, including the ones we discussed tonight, with the hope that maybe it's got everything you've concerned, and it could be, I'm not going to say quick, because I'm not trying to push you through, but a streamlined review that, yes, you've captured everything we talked about the last two meetings. Now we see it in the final ordinance form. If there's minor tweaks, they can be done the next morning before the agenda goes out on the 17th.
The agenda would probably be going out that day of your meeting.
But we should make some tweaks,
Yeah.
supplement it, we could give them that, say you were gonna have one final review on the 12th, and if we need to provide a supplemental memo or some changes to text or something, we can do that on Friday. And that will let you guys see it in final, and not rely on us to capture it, and that will not delay it.
And July 3rd, you said?
No, there is no meeting on July
So this is-
3rd.
My 17th.
Your next meeting is July 12th, because I believe, and then the next meeting after, the only meeting in July is the 17th. So, because of the council shifting its schedule, bringing it back to you for that final look-see is not delayed.
And the town council's also meeting 26th?
The meeting of 26th, and that's gonna have the two state college ones that were removed from May. Those notices ran today, by the way, and they look good. And the state college, and the state college attorney emailed me and said they look good. So,
Kudos.
we've had better, anyway. Unless you really want to just move this through tonight, we would recommend, we have your comments, and we'll bring it back to you on the 12th. Again, not like this, but in the ordinance.
That's good.
We think, Jim, we'll need a little bit of time because there's a lot of changes that we're talking about, so.
Yeah, now,
Thanks, guys.
well, are we clear on the basic general items that need to be
Well,
addressed?
I can,
Yeah, why don't you go through it,
Yeah.
and we'll just make it clear that we
I
can
really,
do this.
I don't have any comments, as far as I'm concerned, it's fine, except adding, requiring trade, put trade laws. Whatever that road is, Tangerine Extension, it's getting late, and horse trails. And encourage some wording that says, and if you're requesting waivers, you must also make a significant contribution in the following areas, and that's kind of open to interpretation, okay? And all those areas that you listed were just, I thought, great. The second thing would be,
The amendment.
wait a minute, I said that wrong. Hang on a second. Oh, I'm sorry. Require Tangerine and horse trails. you're encouraged to address contributions in the following areas. But if you're requesting waivers, you must make a significant contribution in the following
Okay.
areas, in all those areas. Okay, and then changing the language in the administrative amendment section to incorporate the site plan review language. That's really all I have.
One other thing that we would like to add is the statement of use, which we've discussed, is really, right now, it's drafted as a component of the master plan. And what we were contemplating doing is carving that out as its own separate narrative requirement. And we can put the statement of use shall include at least the following topics, or at least the following items. So under application requirements, there will be, it might move master plan from A to B and have A be the statement of use, but set it out separately. Because and then list the topics that you would want to have put in that. And so because of those things, I think you can see we feel more comfortable having you guys see it final, rather than relying on us, because we'll do the best we can, but it may not capture the essence.
One more clarification, did you all want that in the applicability requirement, that statement of need, or what do I call it?
Statement of use?
Well, no, not statement of use.
No, I know what you meant. Compelling reason.
Compelling reason for the trustee to consider the application. Do you want that in?
I liked that idea,
Yeah.
because you can weed out the people who are just trying to get vested for development rights, and folks who are serious about doing something. Because they'll take the time to do something.
Now, do we need a motion to this effect, or is this just general direction?
This is a general direction, so we can, because what we're going to do is we're going to take it as it was revised tonight, include all the comments that Jim made, plus the ones he spoke about this evening, make these 4 or 5 different changes, and then put it in ordinance form and bring it to you in final form.
Is the compelling request, is that going to be part of the entire process, or the first step in the process is to go to the council and verbally or generally make your case?
Were you thinking it would go to the council?
I was thinking it was the first step of the process, and it would go to council, because, don't forget, it requires 4 affirmative votes of the council. The overall master plan would, so my thinking was, if it's not strong coming out of the gate, why are we going to commit the time and the process to continue to work it?
I would suggest that would be a staff level. The only reason is you don't want to add too much expense, not only onto the person who's coming forward, because if they are 4 individual property owners, they may not have the wherewithal.
Right.
Not to mention the dollar amount, in hours of staff time, and then to the council, and then the notification and publication.
Well, that preliminary step would not be any notices or anything. It was just be going to the council saying this is before they spent all that money to go through this process.
We have to actually save them money.
If they go and they get feedback from council, there's really only 2 of them like it, or they get feedback that says you got issues with this.
Makes me a little nervous, because what if only 2 of them like it, and you can't get, I don't know that, it's a good idea because it gets out there in the public and people know what's going on, but I don't know that it should be like a majority vote. I don't know if it's like a, hey, we're letting you know we're doing this, just give us a nod if we're moving in the right direction, or.
Yeah, well, we have a similar requirement to that in the MLU right now, where an applicant anticipating going for an MLU needs to appear at a council workshop and sort of explain what he has in mind.
Could it be that?
But it's not up or down with the council. It's just like an information line.
Okay.
I would maybe do something like that, because
Yeah.
then we're not telling them, we're not giving them the direction to derail themselves.
Exactly.
They can make their own mind up based on
Yes.
the workshop and the
Yep.
feedback they get.
Right.
And they make their own decision
Yeah.
based on what they heard, whether they want to start investing in the process, they go through
Because
it.
council can give them comment.
They have
It's
given
not like,
people
it's not like.
feedback before they start the
Right,
process.
I think that's
And
better.
So-
if they had a master plan, they wouldn't need to go through it. They would kind of know what the town wants. And as you change councilmen, council people, you know, that viewpoint wouldn't change as much as it has the latitude to change now.
Well, what I was envisioning, again, it's not that they're gonna have their whole master plan already developed, and they're gonna spend, but what they're gonna do is they're gonna be able to give you their intent, their scheme, okay?
Concept.
Enough for council to kind of weigh in, or, you know, staff to weigh in and say, okay, it sounds like you're on the right track, or.
And don't forget, we're serious about the horse trails, and
Right,
we're
right.
not,
We
you know,
really want
that's,
this thing
just-
ozoned first.
yep, wanna make sure that you realize you're gonna have these things that you need to do, and they, you know, the council can direct them if they feel it could be controversial to have public meetings with the neighborhoods, you know, or the residents, you know, yeah, that's
Okay.
better.
So we'll bring it back to you on July 12th.
Okay,
Well, Keith Harris made a motion to table this.
do we have to do that?
No?
No.
No.
I think we'll table it till the next
Well,
meeting.
why don't you, well, you continue because we've noticed,
Yeah.
you know, you posted the notice, so just continue it to the 12th, not table it.
Okay.
Do you want to do a motion to continue this
Motion to
12th?
continue this subject to the next meeting.
Anybody second? All right. Lawrence seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes.
Okay, okay.
Are we done now?
We are.
You don't get to leave.
We are.
Bye, guys.
Bye, thank you.
So we're gonna five, this is 5B,
Yes,
the administrative rezoning.
yes, sir, this is it. First of all, let me apologize to the planning and zoning board. I mean to give nobody a heart attack when I use the term administrative rezoning. And I guess because nobody intends, I don't intend to wave a magic wand and approve this by myself, but it's an old term. I guess I'm dating myself and showing my age. Back in 1985, when we were doing the first set of land use plan, comprehensive plans, they referred to it as administrative rezoning because they realized based upon the changes, everybody was going to have to do mass zonings, rezonings to make sure that everything was consistent with the comprehensive plan. So that's really what, it's really a city or town initiated petition, what it is, a rezoning petition. What I wanted to do is I also provided two pieces of information. One of the members I didn't include, although I referred to ordinance number 21009, I didn't include it in your packet, so I gave you a copy of that for your information, as well as I gave you a letter from the property owners requesting the administrative rezoning. Mike has asked, our town attorney has asked that they give us a little bit better letter with a little bit more specifics in terms of that, and I'm still waiting for it. I was hoping to have it tonight to show you. Hopefully we'll get it, you know, momentarily any day now.
I'm sorry, but
yes.
I lost you. We're recording what from whom?
We're asking the owners of the property to actually give us a better letter than what they've given us. That's very, very brief. Mike had some ideas.
Another is basic, more confirming that they're
Willing to work with us.
willing to work with us and collaborate with us, you know, not that they're just consenting. I just thought there should be more to the letter from the property owner, since it's a town initiated rezone.
Now, this is town initiated, right? So we're required to send them notice 30 days in advance. and
Yes.
Adopted by ordinance and all that. So
Yes.
we'll still do all that. So even if they didn't send us a letter, would we still be okay?
Well, yeah, but we wouldn't do this if we didn't get there. I'm loath to have us unilaterally rezone other people's property on our own initiative.
That was my question.
So this
When-
is,
yeah.
so they came, you know, I don't know the history, but the bottom line was, I felt that we needed more than this for town initiated rezoning, so we're all on the record, and we're all in this together. Because I don't wanna have any accusations of downzoning or
Or
takings
Harris
or Harris or anything.
And notarized signature saying that they use
Yeah,
the owner of the property.
something more than this.
And let me give you
So-
the genesis of it, and you'll get an idea. What happened was, you may remember, we had a code enforcement complaint about 3 different entities in the town that were selling hay illegally. One of them was a gentleman called British Hay on Okeechobee Boulevard, on property owned by Pat Hastings. Well, when we were looking at possibly doing a text amendment to the ULDC, that was going to be a cost recovery item. And while we were going through that process, he decided to look at alternatives. One of the alternatives that he saw was property down in Southern Boulevard. And he was talking with the property owners. The property owner's name is Gasper Morello. And Mr. Morello is actually very sick, and, you know, he's, you know, I'm working with his son right now, that's why you don't even see them here tonight. You know, they're not really active participants. But what we're trying to do is, the town is trying to get this done because the gentleman who owns British Hay wants to move forward. Our interpretation is we have a county zoning on the property, so technically I can't enforce county regulations. In order to start moving the development process forward, we need to do this housekeeping measure and get the
So
zoning in
win-win
place.
situation.
So what I'm showing you here, this is the future land use map, and you can see the property we're talking about is right in here, just to orient you with the rest of the town. That's where the property is, and I'm going to turn this around and hopefully it doesn't fall on me like it did last time.
You're going old school on us here.
I'm doing the horse to Carrie Tilly. Should pick on Carrie today.
That's not graphite.
This is a survey that they actually was prepared by Royals Inc. when they were going to originally buy the properties. They didn't buy the property, so this survey is owned by the Morellos. There are 3 pieces of, they actually have 5 pieces of property. They have 2 pieces over here that isn't really comprehensive land use plan, so we're going to do that at a later date. But they have parcels 1, parcels 2, and parcels 3. This is like 0.53 acres, this is like 0.8 acres, and 0.85 acres. If you look at the POPA data, we provided you all the information in your backup. It's all currently zoned CG in the county. And basically what our feeling was, you know, ordinance 21009, and the reason it was done that way, you know, normally the town at that time, and Mike could correct me if I'm wrong, but the town at that time decided not to go ahead and do a full-blown administrative rezoning because they had just adopted the comprehensive plan. They had a challenge by cavalry judge. They had just adopted the ULDCs. They had a lot going on. They figured rather than go through a full-blown city-initiated process, they would do them and on a redevelopment type case. So this is a perfect one for this. The British Hay operation is actually going to be operating on, or would like to develop on parcel 1. But again, because we have the 2 other parcels, we felt now would be a good time to get both these parcels in. We're not doing it under a cost recovery. I did go to council about 2 months ago and indicated in order to get this done quickly, staff was handling this. Besides, I don't think Mr. Morello would have actually agreed to it. He kind of feels that there were times in the past when he had potential sales pending and the town did moratoria and things like this that he was eventually wronged by it. So yeah, I had to kind of drag him in kicking and screaming to make this happen. Like, look, this is in your best interest to do this now. We'll take care of it for you as long as you consent to doing it. So that's the whole reason behind it. And again, it's a housekeeping measure because we're taking CG zoning in the county and making it CL in the town. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Move for approval.
Yep.
Move for approval. Motion by Lawrence.
Just for the record, no one signed up to speak on this item.
Are you sure?
I have no idea what you're talking about, I'm going to tell you the truth, so.
Chris seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes.
Thank you. I will be careful with my terminology in the future.
I'm guessing Veronica called?
You are right.
But yeah, he called me and he said, why is she's upset at me? And I said, well, I think it's the term administrator.
I didn't even think
when I
you
first heard
it.
it, when I first heard it, I thought the same thing, but I was waiting to see what he really meant by it.
Yeah.
I asked him for responses to what he meant by it, so.
Yeah, we weren't connecting. I was calling the wrong number apparently.
I have a question. Could I ask for some comments about the moratorium? If you could just tell us a little bit about what it covers and what it's not covering and.
Yeah, real quick, moratorium that you all recommended or started, and then we had first reading. It's cover text amendments, or amendments to the comprehensive plan. Text amendments and amendments to the future land use map. That's it. It's only going to do, so you won't have applicants coming in and asking to change the comprehensive plan to change your underlying land use while you're going through the review process of the comprehensive plan. It has nothing to do with zoning or rezoning. So, and it doesn't affect the ones that are in the pipeline right now, the State College parcel of Southern Naveed. That is it's just a one-item moratorium on comp plan amendments. And that's gonna be probably what you're gonna start talking about at July 12th, is because the moratorium lasts till November 30th. We need to start getting these items out there that you need to look at for your comprehensive plan. At least maybe start thinking about the subject matters to review. Is there certain objectives or elements, goals, objectives, and elements that need to be looked at in our policies? Are there some that are missing, or you think is missing, or things that, those kind of things. So, I know, Jim's I'm sure gonna be taking a look at things. You all we're probably gonna ask of you is to be prepared with some ideas at the next meeting, so that staff in my office, I know we're really the focus of what we're trying to do. But for now, it's not limited to one section of the town, it's the entire town complex.
I think some of you were at the meeting, you may remember I did do a quick and dirty presentation to the town council where I advised them that I thought, number one, we can come up with something that works for Okeechobee, but in tandem, you also have to look at Southern. And look at and then there's been some council direction about dealing with the land use, the floor area ratios. And I've been asked by some council, how can we make this happen within the time frame? And I think we can. I think the key is, first of all, I think it starts top down. I think council needs to give us some direction that staff could take along with the P&Z and work on during that process to try to come up with the language for an amendment that will definitely work. So,
Mark, will they do that at the 26th meeting?
I don't think, I think we're probably looking more at a meeting down the line, probably the 17th or after.
But I do think if we can on the 12th, maybe, have some even preliminary ideas, so we can at least let them know, hey, we'll go back to one on the 17th.
Yeah.
Say,
Right.
At the 12th, it was discussing, these were some of the topics that P&Z wants, things you could begin to look at. Would you like us to do it, or how would you like us to approach this?
What I'm thinking is, I think between the P&Z and staff and whatever resources we put toward this, I don't think we need to go out and get a bunch of consultants that's gonna, with the procurement process, we'd have a problem right there just to begin with, so I don't think.
Unless someone wanted to come in and do it for free, YouTube, and get that out there.
All right.
I have another question, kind of unrelated to this, and that is there anywhere where we have a recorded set of minutes?
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
This is killing me. I don't have any way of knowing what's happening at the council without having to sit there and watch a DVD. Do we have no minutes anywhere?
Yeah, I can give you an update on that. Well, obviously, I know some people don't want to go to YouTube because it takes a little while, because we do have about 8 or 9 meetings posted on there right now. But we actually had our website designer and vendor in today training the staff on the website. And in fact, Denise spent many hours going through it, and it looks like the website's going to be much more user-friendly, and that we shouldn't have a problem moving forward. And in fact, there is a feature, I think he indicated to you, the feature that would cost another $5,000.
Yes,
You want to just tell them real quickly what that is?
Yes, he described to us, since it takes almost a whole day to take that camera and download those pictures into YouTube.
Right.
Okay, he recommended that they also have another software that it's $500 a year, which it takes like the agendas, like everything that is discussed here in the minutes, and all I have to do is like, there's a motion, okay, it finished, I click on that. So it ties in to the recording and also to the minutes.
Oh, that's grand.
Yes.
Wow.
And how much,
Yes,
how
we
much
get
was
it.
that?
$5,000 a year,
Per year?
yeah. So we're gonna
So we'd
go
have to get
tomorrow.
authorization to do that if we want to put that.
That is, I tell you, that type of program is exceptional because you're not sitting there waiting to go through a whole meeting. You can hear the entire discussion. I'll tell you what our town does now is we have 1-line minutes for motions. The motion and that's it. And we have that connection that you just click on that and it takes you right to that item and you listen to it.
That's
And
what
we don't
this
have video,
program
but we
does.
listen to it.
That's
yeah.
what it does. If
It's
you want
very
a
effective.
specific item in that motion, in that agenda, you just click on there and it comes out the video in the minute.
So the question is, since we've started this board, we actually have not approved one set of minutes. Are we not going to do that?
We're working on the one set because we think there was a flaw, because you guys didn't really discuss some changes at the one meeting. And Dennis I think he was trying to move quickly, the chair, and it was like motion, but we didn't even discuss what we were changing. I think it was one of you may have added some changes,
Yeah.
but nobody discussed it.
No, I know. I remember
So we
that.
wanted to take that back when we were
Yeah.
reworking that as well, because I thought, that doesn't.
Yeah, because I was like, hold on a second,
Yeah.
my
I think
name
that
was
was
wrong.
that was the night we
Yeah,
went
my
for
name wrong
11:30
here.
or something, so.
Yeah.
yeah.
But I mean, are we not gonna have any written?
Probably the next meeting, we might probably have a couple sets ready.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's right.
It's the college and the back buffer with.
Yes.
Yep, that's right.
And how about the town council's minutes? They are not going to, we're not gonna have any written minutes? I haven't seen it.
Oh, yeah, well, the town council, I think we're only like 1 or 2 meetings behind.
But you're not posting them on the web at all?
Oh, no,
Not
no,
yet.
Okay.
no.
We have scheduled up to now by July 1st. It's still tentative, you know, it depends
Okay.
between the 1st and the 12th of July. Our new webpage will be.
Excellent.
So she should introduce herself to us.
Ah,
So
yeah,
you
sorry.
should introduce her.
Denise, go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Denise Rodriguez. I'm the new office coordinator. I came from, I know Mr. Cutney and Mr. Bill Underwood for the last 5 years. I came from working, I'm an accountant. Okay, I came working from the city of Belgrade. But I live here in West
Via
Palm.
Lake, don't forget Via Lake Works.
Oh, yeah, I worked for 2 months in legwork, and that was my name, so.
Yeah.
I'll talk about that.
Welcome.
So I live here in West Palm Beach, but I live on the other side on the east. I live in the villages. And I hope to be here and help you guys in everything that you need.
She's doing a
I
great
have a
job.
comment on that. I have to say that she's the nicest person there that answers the phone.
Thank you. Yes, I have over 30 years experience in accounting, and now also, I have worked in everything, so.
We have a new town
Very
clerk
helpful to me with the
too,
budget.
don't we? Also have a new town clerk or?
Yes, we do. Sue started with us a week and a half ago, and she has already taken one. She did the June 5th meeting. For those of you
Yeah,
that-
she's very responsive.
She
I
probably
appreciate
knows
that.
you, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And formerly from the town of Palm Beach, she retired, and she wanted to come back and do some part-time work, so she is our new clerk, and we look forward to having her on board.
She's very responsive, I appreciate that.
Yes,
I wanted to let you know.
yes, thank you.
We hope to create a wonderful team.
Any more comments?
Can I make a motion for adjournment?
Go me, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Mark.
I just hope- we'll see if we can
I'm gonna return this edition to where it was.
Be 45
Off
minutes.
again.
Oh, yeah.
It just started feeling comfortable.
go. Oh,
No, I just think it was off, so I didn't turn it off because they didn't want it.
Right, thanks.